Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is September 14th of 2020, and it is about 7:20 a.m. in the morning. Tomorrow at this time, I will be at the Heart Hospital having a battery, and I haven't figured out yet because of some coding that I mentioned that I think in a previous video. They said they were just going to replace the battery on my pacemaker, but the coating kind of looks like maybe they're going to replace the some leads. So I'll ask the doctor tomorrow. Not that it matters. Whatever they're going to do, they're going to do. So this video, I'm sure, unless something extraordinary happens, today will be the last video with my old pacemaker battery, because tomorrow I get a new battery for my pacemaker. So hopefully you'll be getting a video tomorrow from me. So I'm just going to, I'm not even sure what I'm going to, talk about. One thing, I'm going to take my cell phone, of course. I could make a video at the hospital. After they put the pacemaker battery in, I'll get sent up to a room and they will monitor me for a while and make sure that, I guess, that no bleeding or problems. Let me tell you what happened last time. I'm sure I mentioned this probably in a video. A year ago, I passed out at Walgreens, and hang on. That's not no reason to have this here unless. Where do I want to go? I want to go to YouTube. Okay, I want to go to I think I'm there. Am I there? If I do a search while I go, let's do pacemaker. Okay. No, okay, I need to go to, actually, to my site, your channel. Maybe I better go here. Go to YouTube Studio. Yes, okay, do pacemaker. Okay, show all 12 videos that I've tagged or whatever. Okay, here's the first one. So this is when I came home from, and that's October 17th of 2010. That's when I had that's not I think a couple of days before that, or the day before that, I had the pacemaker put in. But let's go to that video. And this is me on the stretcher in the ambulance.
Hello, my name is Jim Howard. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. This is my video blog, and today's date, it's October 17th, 2010. Today's Sunday. It's about 8 p.m.
Okay, so they put the pacemaker in me a year ago and sent me up to the room to be monitored and what have you. For the first, I forget how many hours, I can't get out of the bed. Can't raise, they can't raise you. I forget the instructions. I'll get those. Can't raise my arm for, I don't know, a few days or whatever. Naturally, can't lift in, all that type of stuff. Now, when I passed out at the Walgreens, First time in my life I ever passed out. And I didn't realize that I'd hurt my foot or my ankle. And then when finally got to the hospital, I mentioned this I think yesterday, but when I got to the hospital at some point, I was in the emergency room for quite a few hours. And then finally I said, my foot hurts. And then nothing, happened. I mean, I ended up going to my room, and I said, my foot hurts. Well, because the nurse goes, you have to go through that thing that they go through when you first go to the room, Ask you a ton of questions, It's necessary. But I said my foot hurt, nothing happened. Got dismissed, actually. And one time, that just before one of the cardiologists came in, and I mentioned this, I think, yesterday. Cardiologist came in and said, Mr. Howard, how are you doing? I said, fine. You having any pain? No pain. Everything's fine. I said, the only thing is my ankle, my foot hurts me. And he said, let me see it. I said, well, you don't have to. And he said, no. He twisted my foot, and I didn't scream or holler or anything. And he said, oh, it's okay. Anyway, when I came home for like 2 weeks, I was in constant pain. Anytime I tried to walk, it was constant pain. I don't know if I chipped a bone or cracked a bone. I'm not sure what I did. Don't know. Although on my foot or whatever, I can run my hand down. I really can't see, but I can. There's a, I think I really messed it up, but I'm doing okay. But anyway, so the cardiologist comes in and says, by the way, at this point, even 10 years ago, I was not in good. Well, I mean, I was walking around. I was doing walking and talking videos and doing stuff, but I thought all my working life I was never without a job, and I worked hospital security for 30 years. I never, never lost a fight. I mean, I got bit, I got punched in the mouth, but I never, but there later, towards the last, anytime I had to do something where there was exertion involved, or even not much exertion, my blood pressure would shoot up, and my heart rate, I knew would go up. So, anyway, the cardiologist comes in and says, "Okay, Mr. Howard." Well, of course, he checked me a little bit, Okay, you're ready to go home. I'm going to go tell the nurse that you can go home. And I said, "Thank you very much, doctor," and everything. So I had, of course, I was, at that point I could get out of bed. And of course I had one of these remote things on that, sends back data to the nursing station and everything. So I got out. And of course, my foot, it was hard to put my pants on and do everything with my foot hurting like crazy. And of course, just naturally, my blood pressure and was anyway. So I'm trying to get my pants on, and the nurse comes in. Mr. Howard, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. And she says, get in bed right away. Your heart rate is up. Your blood pressure is up and everything. And so I got into bed, and she says, okay, I got to call the cardiologist back. And he has to come back and check you or whatever. And I said, well, my heart, my pulse rate and my heart rate goes up because I was putting, now I have to call the cardiologist. And actually a different he hadn't been gone long. Another different cardiologist came in, and everything's okay, you can go home. So tomorrow, when the cardiologist comes in and checks me and says, hopefully you can go home, Mr. Howard, I'm going to just sit right there on the bed or lay back on the bed and wait for the nurse to come in and take off the monitoring device. let's see. I wanted to mention something from the news. Let's see. Let's go to CNN because I think it was. Okay, I think this is it. Deputy fired after video shows him repeatedly striking a man. Yeah, this is the video. Now,
A sheriff's deputy in the Atlanta area has been
let's see if I can. Are they going to show it? Because that's just. I just want to show. I don't
fired
know
after being caught on video repeatedly striking a man in the head. A warning, this video we are about to show is graphic. It shows the deputy holding a man on the ground and repeatedly hitting him. This video was posted on social media. It went viral. CNN's Diane Gallagher is following it for us in Clayton County, just south
Okay, well,
of
they're not currently going to show the video without. I just happened to watch the video the other day, and I didn't get into all the details of it. I just watched the video clip of this officer on top of officer is by himself on top of this man, and the guy that he has down is fighting, and the officer's getting like bounced around and everything like that, and the officer's fighting, and then the officer just starts pounding the guy. And I worked hospital security for 30 years. I was a reserve police officer, patrolled 1 day a week, sometimes more, for a small community. And for many, many years, the reserve officers were the only thing that the town had. Anyway, I thought, well, I would be, I thought, okay, and there might have even been the thing of repeatedly striking a man or whatever that but I thought, no, the guy is resisting. I don't know what, led up to this. I don't know if, I don't know why the officer stopped the guy. I don't know any details. But the officer is trying to arrest this guy, and he's fighting, and the officer is about to lose control. And I thought, yeah, I'd be striking him also. The guy was resisting arrest. Even if I lost one court case in my entire life. And I'm counting, by the way, traffic violations and that kind of stuff also. If the police are arresting, if the police stop you and you are innocent, you didn't do anything. If the police are arresting you, do not resist arrest. Don't, you can say, officer, I'm sorry, I didn't do anything. Your mistake. You can do all that, but don't fight the police. Anyway, so I watched this little video. I think I might have come back and watched a little clip again because I think when I came back the next time to CNN, and this is where I get I don't have cable television. I don't get CNN. I think when I came back, they said there was a thing that said, maybe that's when they said that the officer was repeatedly, or maybe that's when they said the officer was fired or something. I think I watched a little bit more of the video. And what I saw was still worse. The guy was, the officer was by himself trying to subdue this person. And I guess it's the guy's wife or whatever. I mean, the police officer is right there on top of this guy trying to get him handcuffed or whatever. And I guess it's this guy's wife is just this close with her cell phone, making sure she gets video of this, for a lawsuit or something. And then a second officer shows up, jumps on this guy. So there's two officers on him. The guy is still fighting and bouncing them up and down. And then a third officer jumps, on. on the guy, and the guy is, and then the third officer gets off the guy and goes over to this lady and tells her back up, which I didn't think he really should have, because this guy is still, and he has to, I think, go back. I think I might have stopped watching at that point. Okay, so I don't know. They'll have to sort all this out. Sheriff's deputy in Atlanta was fired for excessive use of force after a social media showed the deputy repeatedly striking a man. Okay, well, they'll have to sort it out. But what I saw, the little tiny clip that I saw, but all the other things matter. Did the police officer throw the man down because he was jaywalking, or spit on the sidewalk, or what did he? That's going to enter into it. Wait a minute, I think this is the video where he was arrested for. Well, I think it said something about arrested for failing to show ID or something. I don't know. So anyway, they'll have to sort that all out. I saw something here. QAnon. The people who, yeah, I'm sure it was them. This was several years ago. I was using an Uber to come home had to be a doctor's office. That's the only place I go. From the hospital. And I got into an Uber, and the driver, when I got in, was talking on his cell phone. And I thought, well, he'll probably, but he talked all the way when he dropped me off, he was still talking on his cell phone. So, I could tell that I never served in the military. I tried to enlist twice. I was rejected. I've talked about that repeatedly, about my being underweight, under the minimum weight requirement. And then I've mentioned that what I never thought about, that since the first grade, I had severe hearing loss in both ears. My parents ignored it, never sent me to a doctor or anything, although the school 2 years in a row sent home a graph and everything going. But I can't blame my parents, because when I became an adult and went to work and I had health insurance, I was a union member and had health insurance, and I never had my hearing, and I knew it was bad by some of my YouTube videos. I'm sure that's in there mentioned problems, like that. So I had hearing loss, which would have. I was really grateful that the first time when I graduated from military high school, I went to a military high school, so I could go in and make a career in the military. I went down to enlist, and they asked all these questions. I said, "There's nothing wrong with me except I'm just a little bit underweight," And the guy said, "Yeah, you're a recruiter, Yeah, you are." And he said, "How much do you weigh?" And I told him, and he actually I mentioned that, he blew dust off this book, but he was in one of his, my wife and I, we had a tropical fish shop for 4 years. It was on the highway, or not the highway, but the street, and we had dust on our, it was just, so that dust might have been from, one day's accumulate, but anyway. And he says, "Yeah, you're 40 pounds under the minimum weight requirement. We can't take you." But, and I had this hearing loss. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I'm really great because a few years later, when I had to do the they contacted me, you have to do the selective service physical, and I did that, 200 of us. And, well, and I mentioned this before, 200 of us, all naked. The doctor comes only over to me and says, have you been in the hospital? Have you been sick? No, no, no. I was I looked like someone from the Nazi concentration camps. But I got a 1A card, so I went down. The recruiter said, I'd have been, we have a list of everybody who's 1A. We'd have been contacting you and started signing me up for, and I said, I'm a little bit pissed. A couple of years ago I came down. I wanted to make a career in the military. And anyway, he said, well, I explained it, and so okay, wait a minute. So then he called up the center that did the medical evaluations and declared me 1A or whatever, and they said, well, let us check, and oh yeah, we didn't notice the height and the weight. Yeah, he's 4F, no, 1Y, unfit for military service except in, but I was really grateful because, when I went for that test, one of the tests in that thing, it took like 4 hours for this stuff. But I was there for 8 hours, by the way, and I've mentioned that in a YouTube video. Was somebody behind a door, and somebody said, I don't know, a number, 6, and then what was the number? 6. Okay, you passed. I passed that. But so I was really grateful that this got caught. What would have happened was, I would have been okay. That recruiter would have signed me up. I had been sent to the base. I got in there, and I'm not sure when they would have got to, maybe day 3 or day 4 or whatever. We'd all sit down at the table with the headphones on, and they would have come over and taken me out. And I'm not sure. Then I'm sure my father would have immediately have told all his work buddies, "Oh, my son went into the army," And then in a few days, I'd have been back home. That would have been humiliating. Not so much for me. I really didn't have any friends, but it would have been, it'd have been embarrassing, but it'd been really bad for my father, I'm sure. QAnon? Why did I hate these organizations. They need to make easy names, Warriors of God or Sentinels for the Second Amendment or something like QAnon. I don't know. Anyway, and I got in this car, Uber, and the guy's on the phone, and I can tell the guy's military that's talking because he says like, yeah, I forget exactly, it's been a few years, but yeah, I'm a veteran now, and I was in, G2 or whatever. I was in something, whatever, and I was in, and we this and that, and I said, and then he's talking to his buddy, and it was same type of yeah, I know you were in G2 or G4 or whatever, and so I know you know a lot about this, and you probably have some inside information on this that we don't all have. But I was talking to so-and-so, yeah, that's the guy that he was in the, such and such, unit. Or he's just getting out. And so he'll be able to help us big when he gets out. And he says, now I forget whether it was like 2,000 or 4,000. It was a high number. He says, next week, he says, the FBI and the military, they have the names of all. Oh, it was when Obama was president. They have all the warrants already made out for these Obama people and for these congressmen and for these all these people. They're going to be arrested. It'll be next week. Let's say it was let's make it low, but it was a high number, an unbelievably high number. Let's say 2,000. Yeah, 2,000 of them, they'll be arrested. Okay, and then the other, I can't hear the other, but this is the guy, yeah, oh, you know so and so. Yeah, well, he's still in the military, but he can feed us some information about this, and you get with him, and then find out if it's okay if you get with and give me the information. And I'm sitting back there thinking, my God, I'm just thinking, my God, you people, you're crazy. Now, I never heard of QAnon, and I'm not even sure. Maybe it was. I'm not sure if it was called that then, or if this morphed into this or something. But I'm just like, these people are. I mean, he doesn't know, you know. I mean, he didn't pick me up at a military base, and he didn't pick me up outside of the federal building. But he's just going on with this, which I could tell was nutty talk. You know, the FBI has 4,000 or arrest warrants right now in their hands, and these people are the only ones who know about it. Now, if you had, if you had, if you had 40 FBI agents that had arrest warrants for arresting senators and congressmen and mayors and presidents and whatever, you wouldn't be able to keep it. You know, you couldn't keep it a secret. But anyway, so he just went on, and I thought about, which sometimes I do things like that. I thought about saying something, you know, like, "Thanks for the information. I'll pass it on to." I don't remember what my thoughts were. Maybe that was the reason I didn't do it. I couldn't think of something that would sound like legit, like something that would be, you know, like, I'll pass it on to the head of my FBI agency, or I'll pass it on to. And I couldn't think. Maybe that was the reason. I don't know why I didn't do it. Maybe that was when I was having some type of a minor medical thing, and that's all I was concerned, you know. But my God, these people are fucking insane. Now, that's again, which comes up, you see all the time, which is like religious groups. There's been, some of these religious groups have, in the past especially, don't hear about too much now. Of course, man, we heard about that one where a bunch of people the guys castrated themselves so they would be ready when the spaceship came to take them wherever it was going to take them. And it wasn't just men, but there was women too that were in this group. They committed, you know, they committed suicide. They were waiting for the space, or no, I think it was actually supposed to be a comet, I believe, that was coming, and a comet really was coming, of course. And it was going to they were going to beam up to it or something or other. But in the past, there's been these religious groups. I'm not sure if I saw YouTube videos about it or what, but especially back a ways, the head of their church or whatever would say, "The end of the world is coming," you know, and the people would give all their money to him. They'd sell their property and give all the money to him. They would, you know, whatever. And then they'd go live in a cave or something or other, and then the end of the world didn't happen. And then he'd say, "Oh, okay, well, I interpreted the Bible a little bit wrong when I was counting the ages or whatever. It's actually going to be 2 years from now." And 2 years from now, he would predict it, and people would, "Oh my God, the end of the world is coming. God is coming," you know. And one of them, at least 3, 4 times, kept. I think he probably had fewer people, I would hope, each time. But yeah, that's what you kind of wonder about. Remember, well, like the QAnon thing. Okay, they were telling their people, okay, 2,000 congressmen and President Obama are all going to be arrested for child pornography and Satanism and I don't know what all. and it's going to happen next week or whatever. And they're all passing the word to each other, and they're all, I guess, getting up early every day looking at CNN, or if CNN exists, it did, yeah. And then it doesn't happen. So I guess it's, oh, okay, well, it's delayed because they're going to get more people, more warrants. But you kind of wonder. I remember back a few years ago, I'm in Texas. I guess the military has maneuvers, and I'm not sure if, I think it's like every year, the federal government partners with the National Guard or whatever in a different state or two. And then they move some equipment, around and do things and work, coordinate with each other to make sure that when something happens, that the National Guard or the Army Reserve or, whatever it is, has their equipment working, and that, and it could be like Air National Guard or, and they partner and they do this. It's a regular thing, I guess, once a year. Maybe it's once every 2 years or something. So Texas happened to be the state that it was going to take place in. And it went nationwide. This is Obama has made arrangements for unoccupied Walmart stores. The basements will be used, and they're going to round up everybody who has a firearm, and they're going to imprison them in the Walmarts. And this is just this is it's going to happen. And there were people all over the United States. You could see the YouTube videos. I guess you could do a search, probably still find them. There were, like, I guess some guy works his job, I mean, probably somebody who seems normal works his job, and then when he gets off work, I guess maybe he goes home and eats with his wife and the kids, and then he says to the wife, I've got to go watch this Walmart over here, and then he drives over and parks and spends the night watching the Walmart to see if military troops are moving in. And they were watching like Walmarts that had been closed, and there wasn't, and then they also, people all over the United States, but especially in Texas, there were people sitting by railroad tracks, watching for trains to come through. And of course, there's always trains moving equipment and military equipment and whatever. And so they would get, their train would go by with different military equipment, ambulances, tanks, I don't know, would go by. They'd get the video. Oh, then they'd upload it to YouTube. Here it is, such and such a time on such and such a rail track, moving southwest or whatever, large number of military units. They're going to be used, and then that was a few years ago. Obama didn't refuse. They were saying, too, that Obama wasn't going to leave office. And it just makes you wonder. So now apparently QAnon is, because whatever comes up, there's people that say the hurricanes or whatever, that the government does stuff, aircraft go up and does stuff and causes the hurricanes. And no matter what it is, there are people. But you kind of wonder, look with the Trump supporters or whatever. They're sticking with him. And stuff comes up, and they stick with him. It just seems to me like, no, wait a minute, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Now that Jim Jones down in Guyana, South America, with the that was still crazy, but a little more understandable because, well, he had them isolated down there. But also the thing that, like, he practiced this. Okay, we have to save these children and from being, whatever. And so he practiced the drinking of poisoned lemonade. And of course, the people, did it. And of course, it wasn't poisoned. And then they had another later on, okay, whatever. And then finally then he was the real, finally he had gone totally crazy. And it was a real thing. But then a lot of the people went ahead and drank, the lemonade, knowing that it was. But there were a few that tried to get away, that they were killed, But you can understand that a little bit. When you practice something, then you tend to do that. I remember once where I pulled my, well, I didn't have to, but I pulled my weapon. And I had to do it fast. Somebody was running at me, was coming at me. And then I realized after that I did everything exactly according to the, training. Because we had trained, to do that. I'm thinking that probably wasn't a good idea. Well, the guy was running, he ran out of the hospital, we chased him, and he was carrying a briefcase, and he was running through trees and through brush and trees, and I was the only one there. And I thought, what's he got in that briefcase, And I pulled my weapon out, and then, thank goodness, he did stop. I got him on the ground, got him handcuffed and that type of stuff. And I thought, I did everything exactly, I pulled the revolver out. I did not have my finger on the trigger until if he'd had a gun, it would, but I had ready. I did everything according to training. But if he'd have come and jumped me and run into me, knocked me down or whatever happened, and I had shot him, he did not have a gun. He didn't have a weapon. The only thing in the briefcase, if I remember correctly, was he had the floor plans and everything for the hospital. He had a packet that had the floor plans of the hospital and all the entrances and exits or whatever, and whatever. That's the only court case I ever lost. He was an exhibitionist. He had a red belt buckle for that reason. Every time we'd get a call, he'd come like I guess he probably had a schedule at home, Okay, well, I've been to Trinity Lutheran Hospital 3 months ago and exposed myself. Okay, I can go there again. Let's see, St. Mary's Hospital. No, I was just there last month, so I'll mark it. I guess that's why he had that floor plan or whatever. And the police officer, when the police showed up and everything, I said, he said, what's the charge? And I said, exhibitionist, he exposed himself. And the officer says, do you have I said, oh yeah. And then I found out, no, we did. We all responded, and everybody wanted to catch him, and nobody did a proper report. And the only, when I said, well, okay, I know 3 East, and I went to 3 East, and the unit secretary, I said, remember, back such and such, because we had the information on our activity logs and everything. I said, remember, and oh, yeah. And I said, so you saw the guy? No. A lady in the waiting room came over and told me. So anyway, I told the police officer, I said, oh, okay, I'm sorry. The charge is going to be trespassing. Because on such and such a date, such and such a time, I confronted him in the lobby, asked what he was doing there. He'd taken, by the way, the packet that were there available with the plans and all that. I didn't know that, and I gave him a trespass warning, told him not to come back or be arrested for trespassing. So I said the charge is trespassing. So in Kansas City, Missouri, where I worked at Trinity Lutheran Hospital. In Kansas City, Missouri, the way it worked was the police officers had standing, it was in their book or whatever it is, of policies that they are not to go to court on things, trespassing, disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, or what, unless it's there, the security officer has to go. And because they didn't want their police officers spending time unnecessarily in court. And, but the police officers, of course, always, because they had to know when to write it up, so the police officer, would write it up in their thing for where their court times were going, other cases were going to be. So the courtroom was filled with police officers. I'm sure the police officer probably who had come. Anyway, the only court case I ever lost. This. So anyway, I goofed up too. Another goof up. I should have gone right to the prosecutor or whatever, and to make sure everything was okay and what the charge was. I wouldn't have lied and perjured myself. Anyway, I go, okay, the guy gets called up. Well, the guy gets called up, and he's dancing in front of the judge, and the judge is, stop that or I'm going to, and settle down or whatever. And then the guy is saying, the police officer who wrote this ticket, let's say it was, I don't remember, let's say it was 1980 or whatever, Well, the police officer wrote that I was supposed to be here 1989 or whatever, got the date wrong or whatever. And the judge says, but you are here, so you knew that this is the time that you needed to come. And the guy, yeah, but he wrote tonight that I'd be to this. And the judge says, I'm telling you, settle down or I'm going to, whatever. And the guy just kept going on. And the police officers in the front row, they wanted to beat the guy, I'm sure. They wanted to, he was being an asshole. So they're sitting there thinking, okay, well, the security officers, it's his case and he's going to handle it, And then, so I'm there and the judge says, okay, how did he create a disturbance? And then I'm like, to myself, oh, shit. The officer charged him with, creating a disturbance, not trespassing. And so I'm like, oh, in my head, oh, shit. And I said, well, Your Honor, when I confronted him on the third floor lobby outside of the psych unit and asked him what his business was, he took off running. And as he was running through the hospital, he was disturbing people. And the judge, not guilty. And that's the only court case I ever lost. But he never came back again because the other officer and myself, we knew, I said, come on, And so when he left, and so he was looking around to make sure we weren't around there. And we went up on another level where we could see the parking lot or whatever. And he looked around, make sure nobody's around. Then he went over to his car. And then we wrote down the license number and description of the car. And then he looked up and he saw us or whatever. And he never came back after that. And anyway, his thing was they're having a red belt buckle. I guess that women's attention were, drawn to it, but that's what they remembered also, How did I get on that story? Don't remember. This is new. I didn't know it was hard to find paper towels now. We went through the beginning of finding toilet paper. I mean, we didn't run out of toilet paper, but Anyway, oh, I can't see what you're saying, but so anyway, I'm getting ready. I'm gonna pack a little bag. I'm not gonna be there at the, but I'm only gonna take one. I'm not gonna take this one, but I just charged all three of these up. This one is power pack. That's I think 1,500 milliamp capacity, and that's a light. You know, you can hit. I don't even know how to hit the light. I think there's a switch on here someplace. There we go. I'm not going to take this, but it has a solar, solar panel. But I remember trying this, leaving it. It doesn't charge up the battery very much at all. But of course, I charge it up USB. Not going to use this one either. It's a power pack, and it's only 4,400. It's also a amplifier. I'm not sure if it's might be radio. Let's see here. Anyway, you can plug. It's got a 3.5 jack. You can plug audio into it, and wonder if this goes off automatically. I had to press it. Okay, this is the one I'm going to take, and I don't think I'll need it because my cell phone is the Motorola G Power, I think, has an extra. But I'll take this just to be sure. And this is 10,000 milliamp, and it's all charged up. Not much to see. So I'll take this one. Not sure which one of my bags I'll take. I'm not sure exactly what I even need to take. It's kind of hard to I guess I should take a little bit in case I get stuck for some reason having to stay over an extra day or something, which I don't anticipate is going to happen. So, guess that's it. I think I might have had another story to tell you, but hopefully I'll be around to tell you some of my boring, long, drug out. Okay. I saw this deputy fired and repeatedly strike out. I thought that was another story. So anyway, thank you very much for watching.